I'm just going to like create something in my journal page, and I will have the computer open up here so that I can see whatever like questions and stuff you guys might have, because I'm doing the live with my phone. Okay, so yeah, I just have some like paints and papers and stuff, the kind of stuff I normally use. And I don't really know what I want to do just yet, but I think I'll just like start off by like priming the page and stuff. Okay. So to start off like priming the page, and this art journal, I've done a few pages in it. It was for my March mixed media box for like this year. So they were made using those products. So I'm just going to use some chalk primer, and as most of you know, like the chalk primer is from my mixed media boxes. I'm going to use quite a big brush. I don't normally need to prime these pages, but I'm not too sure what I'm going to do. I don't know how much like water and stuff I'll use, so I'll just prime it anyway. I'm just going to use this piece of paper to protect the pages behind it. I don't want my pages to get stuck or anything. Okay, I can see there's a few of you have joined me, so thank you and hello. And if you guys want to like say like maybe you want me to use a specific color or something to challenge me a bit, you are welcome to. I'm just gonna hit this with the heat gun to dry it nicely so that it like speeds it up a little bit, because no one needs to see it dry. Okay, so that's all dry, and I haven't used my like spray inks yet, so I thought I would. And like these are either made from food coloring or inks. And I think I'm gonna use like some of Sean Petit's stencils. I'm part of her creative team for 2018 to 2019, and I've been enjoying using her stencils for like making videos and stuff. So I think I just want to like use something that's more like a pattern than like a focal image. I think I might use these. I haven't used these yet. And I think that this stencil is called Backgrounds 2, by the way. I think I might just kind of randomly spray through the stencil without any like plan. I think I'm gonna keep more to like the circular patterns. And I really enjoy like using a kind of ghost print, just like using the back of the stencil, and that creates quite a cool pattern. Oop. Okay, so I'm going to dry that again, and what I like to do is to speed up the drying process a bit, because I'm really impatient when it comes to that. I just kind of blot my like ink with a paper towel, and it's also a bit lighter as well, so it's not as like stark, especially with the red. It was really dark, so I'm going to hit that with the heat gun again. Okay, so I'm just going to move this. And I think I'm going to go in with some like paint. So I'm thinking green and maybe like a yellow or something. And I think I'm just going to go straight in. I'm going to use my fingers. Oh, and okay, sorry about that. My phone was acting strange. And I'm going to announce like the giveaway winner at the end of the live. So do stay tuned for that. And I like to use my fingers to kind of like, when I blend it out, you can still see some of the like sprays behind. And like the food coloring spray isn't permanent unlike the ink one, but once I dry it enough, it shouldn't really smudge too much. I want this page to be quite bright. So again, I'm going to dry that. Hi, Michelle. Okay. So now that everything is dry, I want a bit more texture, and I just have some of like this drywall tape left over from like a video I filmed a little while ago. So, and this has got like a sticky back to it, so you can just peel the backing, which is really nice. And I'm going to put it in a few areas, but mostly to the edge, because I think I might have my focal image like more in the middle. And again, I'm still not too sure what I want as my focal image. I just know that I want it to be quite bright on this page. Okay, and to seal this in, I like to use some glue just to make sure that it sticks, especially when I'm putting it like onto paint and stuff. Okay. And I have some like book paper and tissue paper that's left over from my previous video. I have some gold tissue paper here, so I thought I would include some of that as well. And I was thinking that I was going to like keep some white space in, which is why I had some like more clearer areas, but I'm kind of covering those up, but that's okay because I can always like go in with some white paint to kind of bring that back. And this is just like a scrap piece of paper that I cut like a flower out of using my die cutting machine. Oops. I'm trying to stick it down so that you can still see like the shape of the flower. Okay. Oh, hi Joy. Thank you. Hi Granddad. Hi Jess. Oops. Okay, I feel like I want to add some purple. So this may not work too well because I am just using the backing, but I am going to try to spray through it. Okay, yep. That looks actually better than I thought it would. And again, I'm just like stamping off the excess in a few places. I think I just want to add a little bit more. So I'm just going to add like some splashes. And this was also made with inks. So this will also dry permanent, which is good because I think I'm going to go in with some white paint to just kind of bring back some of that white space a little bit. Thank you. Okay, and I didn't blot off the color this time like I did first, because since it was going on some other colors, I thought it would be better to just keep it bright, because it did dull down a little bit, especially like around here when I sprayed it. And I'm very tempted to use another stencil for my focal image. I haven't used those birds yet. And these two are some new ones I recently got. So I'm really excited to use those, but I don't think, especially the poppies, I don't think I'll use them today. I think I might use the bird. I've never really used stencils that much, but I'm enjoying using them. Like sometimes I just use them as like a guide and then go over. And the nice thing about some of our stencils come with like the masks as well. So I use the masks to like plan out where I'm putting things. And I think maybe I want them like on a branch. Okay. Right, so I'm gonna go in with some white paint. And again, I'm gonna use my fingers just to lighten it up a bit because the background has become quite busy. Oops, that's a lot of paint. I think I'm gonna have to take some of that off. That was loads of paint. Okay. And this white paint is quite transparent sometimes. So I am going to go over in a few other areas except as well as the middle, just to kind of blend everything together a bit, especially like where I've stuck down papers. And I can always go back and add some more color if I wanted to. Okay. And I'll add a little bit more around here because I know this is like kind of the area I want the branch and the birds to be in. And just so that they pop out a little bit more. Yeah, so I'll dry that. Okay, so I'll use like a makeup sponge, and I think I'm gonna use an orange paint just because that one's closer, because I'll have to mix my own brown, but I'm planning to go over and like paint in the branch to add some more details anyway. And I tend to use orange or even yellow and purple to make a brown color, and that works because purple and yellow are opposite each other on the color wheel, so that creates quite a nice brown. And if I want a warmer brown, I can always like use orange, but you sponging through with the orange will give it quite a nice like warm undertone, so I might not even have to do that, like mix orange into it when I'm making the brown. And I'm leaving out the leaves because I can always add those in afterwards, and I don't want like orange peeking through the leaves. I want them to be more of a brighter green. I think if I was doing a more of an autumn kind of look, I would. Though I could do an autumn look and have some like leaves falling off the branches. I might do that actually. Okay. Right. So that is that. And that's created a good guide for me now. And to clean my stencil, I'm just going to use just some water and a paper towel. I don't want the paint drying on the stencil. And Sean Petite recommends that you do stenciling through on the smooth side, because on her stencil there's a rough and a smooth side, so that it's easier to clean. Though I may have to stencil through on the rough side just in case I want to flip one of the images over. But I don't need the stencils to be like perfectly clean. I just need them clean enough so the paint doesn't like dry in like the image part, so it doesn't affect me when I'm trying to stencil something else. And of course you can see that I didn't go all the way up to the end of the page because I did want it to be a bit, the branch to be a bit longer. So I'm just going to go in with a brush and paint that in. And I'm using the orange as well, so I still have that same like undertone of colour. Okay. Just adding a bit more orange. Okay. So now I will put the bird in, and I want to use this small bird. I'm going to put my mask where I want it first. And instead of having like the bird facing that way, it would make you look that way and not onto the page. So I'll have it this way, about here I think, so that you focus on the page instead of away from it. And you can see that's the rough side because this bird was a bit too big for what I wanted. Or is it? I think I could use the bigger bird. Yeah, you know what? I'll use the bigger bird. I do want it to stand out, so I'll use that. I'll just put the stencil over where the mask is so I get it where I want it. There, that'll do. And this time I will use a blue. I think I want the bird to be a kind of like dark, kind of bluey black. So I'll use that for the background. And it's okay that I could use a different makeup brush. Not makeup brush, sorry, makeup sponge, but I wasn't too worried. I'm not too worried about that. And I hope you'll still be able to hear me clearly. The rain's starting to come down. Today's quite an odd day for the weather, but it's not too heavy, so hopefully it doesn't make too much noise. Okay, so I put that in. Yeah, that'll do. And you can see it wasn't perfect, but I can always change that up a little bit when I'm putting in all my detail. So again, I'm just making sure to wipe the stencil Right, so that's in. So I'll dry that, and then I can start putting in some of the detail. I still feel as if the background isn't finished yet, so I'll see what I can do about that after it's dried. Oh good, you can still hear me. That's it. Okay. Hi Haley. Right, so now that I've added like this dark blue, I think I should add it to like kind of around the edge of the page to kind of ground it, because at the moment the background's very bright but it doesn't have anything dark to ground it. So I'm going to use my sponge to just put it in a few areas. Yes, it in the conservatory it always sounds like you're outside when it's raining. Thank you. Is Isla watching? Okay, so you can see that's added a frame now around the edge. And because I didn't have as much paint on my sponge, it's still not as dark as the bird. Oh, hi Isla! And I'm just going to like sponge through some of this like backing from the drywall tape, just to add some of that in, but without overpowering it too much. Okay, that's just in a few areas. Okay, and I'll do that with the orange, but I'm going to use a new sponge now. Hi Natalie! Whoa, the rain's really heavy now. Okay. And I don't want the orange to be too dark. I'm just going to use the same waist backing. And I'm kind of stenciling around where I've stenciled with like the dark blue. Just to add a kind of shadow effect. And I think I'll add some of that around the border. Oh yeah, I can see the lighter sky a bit. Yeah. Hopefully it lightens a bit. Okay. So I don't need to dry that because I'm going to add a little bit more white. Stenciling as well, so I'll get a new sponge. And I'm going to use one of Sean's stencils. I think I'll use like these kind of bubble circles here to add some white because I want them to be a bit bigger than the colour. Because I still feel like it's not bright enough. But I'm going to use a smaller cluster of circles. I still have quite a bit of white paint left over from earlier, so I'll use that. And you don't really want your sponge to be like too heavy with paint, because otherwise it will just like smoosh underneath the stencil. Okay. That looks quite nice, and I'm going to put that in just a few areas. And I'm like twisting and turning the stencil so it doesn't all look the same. And it's okay if I go over like the branches like I am now, because I will go over those with paint anyway. You can see the sponge just kind of picked up some of the blue colour, so the white isn't even like a perfect white. But that's okay. And the blue colour it's picking up is from when I sprayed through the stencil earlier, which is why it's a good idea to clean your stencils afterwards, but I'm a bit lazy when it comes to that. Okay. And you can see that I have gone over the border, but I can always go over the border again. Okay. Right, so I'm happy with that. And again, I'm just going to make sure the stencil is clean. Okay. And again, that's not perfectly clean, but that's okay. So I'm going to dry it so that when I'm going over the branches and stuff, I don't really pick up any of the colour that I've stenciled. Okay, so I'm happy with how that's all dry. Remove that. So now I'll do the branch, and I think I'll use one of my liner brushes, like the largest size. So I have a size 3, and I'm going to mix up some brown. I'll use my palette knife for that though. I don't like to use my liner brushes for mixing because then I might damage them. So I'm going to get my purple out. not using too much. I think I'll go in with yellow first. I'm not too sure if I want a warm brown just yet. Okay. You can't really see that, so I'll move that in a bit. And I'll just add purple slowly as I go. That is a nice colour, but I think I will add just a little bit of orange. So I think I do want it a little bit warmer. Just put a tiny bit of orange, because if I add too much, it'll overpower it a bit. Okay. Okay, I'm happy with that colour, so I'll just get as much of it off my palette knife. There it is. Okay, and I find my liner brushes work best like when they're a bit damp. So I'm just wetting it a little bit, and I've just wiped off like the excess. And I will go over the bird a little bit, but that's fine because I still have to paint over the bird, and you can see that I've like already stenciled over it a little bit. I'm not sure if I want a quote yet. I might like maybe have a little one here or like here. I'm not sure what kind of quote I would use. Okay. So you can see I'm just like filling in the areas, and I am going out of the areas as well a little bit, just so that it looks a little bit more like realistic a bit. I don't want it to look too perfect. And I'm making sure to keep my brush nice and wet so that it is nice and smooth when I'm applying the paint. I think I'm going to add a branch here. Just add another little bit here where that leaf would like connect to. I'm sorry I've gone a bit quiet, I'm just trying to concentrate a bit while I'm just filling this bit in. Okay. Right, so I'm happy with that. I'm just kind of going over here. Oops. See, I've made that go fine now. I'll just make that a bit thicker. I'm just going over in that area because the border's still a bit dark there. There we are. Okay. And you can see like the orange has kind of come through, but that's okay because I didn't want it to be quite a warm brown. And I might like add some stenciling with the brown a bit in some areas. And that's just so that everything kind of blends together. I think I'll use this one. And that's just in a couple areas. Just in a few areas, just slightly. And again, where I've stenciled before, to add that layered look. Okay. Okie dokie. So I think I will dry the branch. Okay, so I'm going to use the same glue I used to stencil it. Add a little bit of white. I'm kind of treating this a bit like a silhouette. Just a few details, but not like loads. And I think I'll use a bigger brush though, because I will have to cover a larger area. And again, I'm wetting that a bit. I don't really want to use the dry brush technique. Thank you. I'm glad you're liking it. So I'm just smoothing that out, that line a bit. There, that looks a bit better. The paper, like the journal page, is that kind of a sketchbook paper. I think it says, oh, it doesn't say. I think it's about a like 120, 140 GSM, which is like the weight of the paper. So like the heavier the paper, the better it deals with paint. And this is quite a good paper. It's quite thick, and you can get like sketchbooks like this from like Hobbycraft, and that's a quite good sketchbook paper. And to make it a bit stronger, you can always prime it. Like I used my chalk primer, but you can always use gesso as well. Yeah, so I think it's about 140 GSM, which I think for me personally is as low as I would go if I'm doing something mixed media on something. Yeah, so it's not as thick as a cardstock, but it's a sketchbook paper, so it will be made to be able to deal with some wet medium like paints and stuff, but I wouldn't recommend it for watercolors and inks. It does okay, but it can be quite difficult to work with when you're using watercolors and inks because it's a lot of water. No problem. I hope I was able to make myself understood a bit. Okay. Okay, so I've added that like base of blue. So now I'm gonna go in with some white for like highlights and stuff. I'm thinking the sun's coming from that direction. So I'm gonna put some on like the breast of the bird. And like some of it on its tail. Like on the top of its head. I'm just gonna go lightly in a few areas as well, just to kind of give it some more definition and interest. And I'll go in with some more of the blue, and I think I'll go in with some of the brown from like what I used on the branch. And like using the same colors you've used over and over again does tend to make your page look a little bit more like cohesive. But like, because this is a journal page, I have played a bit more with the color, and it doesn't really matter too much because this is just for fun. But if it was a canvas, I would definitely pay attention more to like how my page is looking, so that it does look like it all belongs there. And I need more blue. And you can see I'm using quite like loose brush strokes. So I'm going to add some more like of that blue on the side, but not too much light will be hitting it. And I'm not going in like with straight lines, I'm going curved to go along with like the shape of the bird. And I think that I may have to bring in my liner brush just so I can add some finer details. Oops. My brush has become a bit dry, so it's gone a bit out there. There we are. And again, I'll go in with some white just to add that definition back in. So I'm gonna get my liner brush out. I want to add some white, but I don't want it to be as like such wide highlights as it was with my other brush. And again, I have wet the liner brush. So I can just add little by little. Then I can add a stronger highlight if I like. Like so. And some on the beak. Just to make that stand out a bit more. Okay, just a little bit on the top of her head. A tad there. And you can see with the highlights, then I'm able to bring in more detail with the bird. So even though I'm still like treating this like a silhouette, you can still see a few details. I'm just kind of blending that out with my finger there. Okay, and there's maybe a little bit here, but not too much. And again, I can add like some more, like on the back, just to like add some more of that definition, but then I'm just wiping it away with my finger, so it's not too strong, so you don't get like confused where the light's supposed to be coming from. Okay, so I'm gonna add some shading on the tree. I will have to go in and do some of those leaves in a bit, but I'll do it on the branch first. And I'm going to use some of that blue and mix it with some of the brown just to make a darker like kind of brown color, but more of a blue color. And just in a few areas add some of those shadows. Okay. Oops. And that just adds some more definition and detail. And I'm trying to keep my brush wet so that it's quite smooth. The lines are quite smooth. Oops. Okay. And then I'm just going to add some of that blue in a few areas. And then I can just blend that in with some brown. So you see now I'm just going over where I put the blue so it blends in a bit more. And I should have done like the shading and highlights while the branch was wet when I first painted it, but I didn't, which is why I'm having to go over with the brown. Oops. Right, so now I shall add the highlights. Again, I'm just going to use the white and just kind of blend it in as I go along. And then I'm going to go in with some more brown, blend that in. Because even when I go over with the brown, it'll still be lighter because of the white. Then you'll still see the highlight. Okay, so I'm happy with that. I'm gonna add in the leaves. I'm just adding a few more places, like brighter highlights, where I think the sun will be hitting the most. And you can see I'm doing it really messily because I don't want it to be too perfect. And I find like when the sun hits certain places on like branches and stuff, I find it tends to look a bit more like kind of speckled. Right, so now for the leaves. I don't know if I'm changing my mind about the orange now. So I think I do actually want some green leaves, but maybe I can do green leaves with like a hint of orange as if they're now starting to change over. So I'm going to use this green I used earlier, like when I was adding the colour with my fingers. And I'm using my liner brush again. And you know, I think I'm going to dry it. Okay. And my birds bubbled up a little bit because when I was drying it, I wasn't being very careful with how I was. So it bubbled up, like sometimes it does that, especially if the paint's a little bit thick in that area, but that's okay. I quite like how it's looked with that. Adding in the leaves, and of course there'll still be like the undertone of orange. So I think what I'll do is make the orange look as if maybe it's coming out through the middle, or just in like a few areas, as if it's now changing, and I will add some orange. not some orange, some leaves in a few other places as well. Five, six, seven. And I have a bit of a weird thing where I like things to be in uneven numbers. So I'm going to make sure that when I add some more leaves, it'll still stay uneven. And you can see this is a very light green, and a lot of time you can see through it. So to add some darker bits, I will use the blue. I think I'll add a leaf here. Oops. Okay, so I'm gonna mix the blue with the green first, just so I'm happy with how much I've added. And then I'll add the orange in some areas. And when I do that, I will have to be a bit careful because orange and brown are also up, across from each other on the color wheel, so they would make brown. So I'd have to be careful how I add it. That leaf looks weird and wonky, but I'll leave it just like that. And I think I'll also kind of use the orange a bit like a highlight in some areas. And I'm going to try to finish up soon because there's another dark cloud looming. Looks like it's coming for me. And on a few of the leaves I am also using like the dark blue as a bit of a shadow. And I do need to add another leaf because at the moment there's 8 leaves. I'm just trying to figure out where I want it. I might have maybe one like falling off that's a bit more orange than everybody else. I think maybe about here. That might look good. Maybe kind of facing downwards a bit. I apologize for that noise that keeps on happening. Some notifications keep on coming through on my phone. Okay, just adding some more green because it's kind of having to like shine through the background a bit. I might kind of add another one like here. You have to be careful I don't go overboard though. That's 4, 8, 10, and another one. Another one here. Yeah, I'm gonna add, yeah, I'm gonna add another one here. Hi Naisha. Okay. Okay. And again, I need to darken up some of those leaves. Like about here. Right. So I think I'm happy with those dark, oops, those dark areas. I'm gonna add some orange, and then I'll add some highlights. I don't want the orange to be too like bright. Thank you. And I'm gonna kind of blend it in a little bit in some areas, like some kind of in the middle. And again, I'm trying to keep the brush really wet so it blends in nicely. I don't want it to be like, I don't want it to have a dry brush effect. I want it to look really blended. And it's a bit wetter than it has been when I was doing other things. And that's okay. Okay. And you can see it's just in a few areas. And I will have to define these leaves a bit, because they're kind of disappearing into the background. So I think I might go in maybe with a pen. So I'm trying to define it with the paint because I am enjoying like doing that now. Before I found it a bit more challenging, but I find defining it with the paint instead of like a pen is quite cool. But I might have to, if I can't get it to look how I want the definition. So I think I'll like mix like the blue, a kind of brown color. Again, keeping my brush quite wet. Okay, actually I quite like that, how that looks. I'm trying to go quite slow while I'm defining it, because I don't want the line to be too wide, and if I like flick out by accident, I will have to widen it, but I don't really want to do that. I'm just going to put a light line in the middle. I quite like how that looks. And where the light wouldn't be hitting, I'll make it a bit wider. This is more like adding definition with a fine liner. And this is why I really love these liner brushes, because I can add some really fine details that I wouldn't really be able to with the other brushes I have. And I do actually make sure to keep these brushes nice and clean, and I treat them well unlike my others, because I want the points to be nice and strong. And these are from Hobbycraft, I'm not sure if I mentioned that. And I grabbed those on an art sale. And I have 3 different sizes. I probably should be using a smaller size for the details like this, but that's alright. Like I'll probably use the 1 instead of the 3. This is my largest liner brush I have. Okay. I think kind of this branch is upsetting me, so I'm just going to kind of add some detail in there as well. That's better. Okay, almost there. I'm really liking how that's made them stand out now. And I think I will put a quote here, I'm just not sure what yet. Okay. I'll just add a few white highlights, not too bright, just like kind of dot them around, and I'm keeping the brush quite wet again. Okay. Just literally in a few areas. true. It could look good without a quote as well. That would make a pretty notebook cover. Okay, so I'm happy with those highlights. I didn't want them to be too strong. Really just wanted a little touch, just to brighten them up slightly. Oops, especially this one, since it's quite far into the border. Right. I feel as if the border needs to be stronger. So I'm gonna go in with the blue. Again on the sponge, I think that'll look good. But a bit stronger so it stands out a bit more. And I don't want to use any black because that would be a very strong color. And it would just overpower it a bit too much, I think, because I haven't used black in anything else. I haven't even used it to mix a color. And I try to avoid using black a bit more now, because it kind of gives a unnatural dark black color to it. So sometimes it's better to even mix your own black with some other colors. Welcome back, Jess. I'm adding this quite thinly as well, and I'll try my best to add it here. Thanks, Jess. I'm just kind of using the edge of the sponge because I don't want it to be as wide. Oops. Sorry, I'm shaking the camera. I don't want it to be as wide as the initial border. And adding this second border does give it a bit more depth, because the more layers you add, it's like the kind of the whole thing of mixed media, the more depth you have. And I think for my signature I may just use like white or something else instead of black, or like the dark blue, just kind of in this light spot here, so again it doesn't look too stark. I'm just going to go around the bird, not completely around the bird though, just at the back of the bird, just to put in another dark line. I feel like it needs that a little bit. Especially along here. I feel like it just needs a bit more definition at the bottom of her tail. Okay. Right, that's better. I like that. I'm going to add a little bit of splashes with the dark blue. Just in a few spots. I feel like the background just needs a tinge more grounding. And it will go over some of the leaves and stuff, but that's okay. I don't mind too much, especially since this is quite watered down. It shouldn't show too dark. Oops. Okay. I'm gonna splash in another direction. Doesn't look all the same way. Right. I'm adding some orange splats as well. Very lightly though, I don't want too much. Okay, right. And some white splats. I will cover the bird for this though, I don't want any white splats on her. Yeah, just with that paper towel. And again, I'm going to splat from the side. I think I like that direction better. And I want it quite watered down. And like the liner brush gives quite like long splats, I find. I mean, you can kind of get long splats on any brush, but I find the liner brush gives the best long splats. And of course it's little splats as well. And the wetter I have my brush, the bigger the splats will be, and the drier I have my brush, the smaller the splats will be. But the splats on this will be quite small because it is a liner brush. The brush is very small. So I think I'm happy with that. I do really like the colors and stuff. Okay. Yeah, I'm happy with that. So, it's not completely dry yet, and I don't really want to blast it with the heat gun because I don't want anything else to really bubble up. But so I'll add like my signature and the date after it's dry. So I'll remove that so you can see it better. I'm going to try to give you a close-up. And I'll post some photos on the Facebook page and group, as well as the event page later on, so you can see the details a bit more. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed the live video. If you did, please do let me know, and if you would want me to do more, let me know as well, like on the comments, in the chat section, or other places. Oh, thank you, Joy. I think this will have to be a new notebook cover as well. So yeah, so I hope you enjoyed it. I will get the giveaway stuff up so that I can announce that. And I'll do that, like, I'll get the, whatchamacallit, I'll get the giveaway winner, like, on a random thing. I can't remember what you call them now. Like a kind of random number generator, to get the results. But I'll have to do that on the laptop, and the phone's kind of hooked up at the moment, and I'm too scared to move it. Yeah, I'm too scared to move it because there's like wires and hooks and all sorts holding these things together. So I'll get that up. And if you guys have any other questions about like how about how I did everything, then please do pop it in the chat while I'm getting this like giveaway thing up. Okay, oh, and while I'm sorting this out, there is also a 30% off giveaway on my Ticktail site. So you can check that out, and that, oh no, there's splats all over my laptop. Oh well. That discount is on all products. It's a minimum spend of £2, so anything over £2 you'll get the discount, and it won't count on any sale items, but apart from that, everything else will have that 30% discount on, and you don't need a promo code or anything. You just have to pop to my Ticktail site. I can pop that in the chat. I could pop my link to my website in the chat, and of course you can find that on like my Facebook page and stuff. So then you guys can see. So I'll pop that in. I do have splats on my laptop. It's the first time. I always thought I would get away, but that's okay. Didn't get on the keypad. Okay, so I've linked that, and I'll just get up that giveaway winner. Okay, and the winner is Miriam Shrenk. So I will email you, Miriam. I don't think you're watching at the moment, but I'll email you to let you know that you've won. So congratulations. So yes, so congratulations, Miriam. Well done on winning the giveaway. I will email you as soon as this live is over. Yes, so let me see. Okay, Joy. Well, I'll see the next time I can do a live. Is Sundays good for everyone? Because Sundays always are empty for me, really. So if like Sundays are a good day for a live, I can do some more. And is 12:30 a good time? I know I started late because of like technical issues, and I was trying to sort out my setup. But it's like between 12 and 1 a good time, because that's a good time for me as well. I'm trying to make sure that I don't misplace any of these masks. Okay, well, since Sundays seem to be good, and this time quite a few people were able to join, which was very good. So thanks to everyone who did join the live. I will let you know when I'm doing another one. And yeah, it'll probably be another journal page, because that was about an hour, so I think that was quite good. So it'll probably be another journal page, or like a small canvas or something. Yeah, so Sundays are good, around that time is good. I'll keep that in mind. And of course, when I am planning to do a live video, I will let you all know beforehand on the Facebook page or group. So I'm going to ring off now. So thanks to everyone who joined me in the live, and I hope you enjoyed it, and I hope you like it, and I'll post some photos on so you can see all the details a little bit better. Oops, sorry, knocking the camera again. So yes, Thanks for joining me, and I hope to see you all on another live video soon. Bye!